yes, we have a vision, but if we all agree on what the vision is, you know what I mean, and we all have different inputs on how to do it, then it's going to become something even better after that, right?
Sure, yeah.
Like if it's just me being a dictator going, no, we have to do everything this way, like we're not going to get as good of a product as if we bring a bunch of different heads together, as long as everybody's aligned in that.
What's going on, guys? I'm Chris, owner of Swamp Rabbit Movement. I got my co-host Ray Mack with Mack of All Trades and Damian Hall Group. Today we got a special guest, Michael Leach with Crosshair Productions. Michael, how you doing, man?
Wonderful. How are you doing?
Doing good. So give the audience a little bit of backstory about who you are, where you came from, and what kind of led you into the video production world.
Yeah, man. So I am kind of like a creative figuring out how to be a business owner. You know what I mean? Like I grew up in the music world. I was playing dive bars when I was like 15 and making a lot of noise, playing metal. And eventually it was like, okay, we need to make some content for the band, right? So bought a little cheapo camera, started figuring it out, and started doing some content for some other bands in the area. I grew up in Florida, and it just kind of snowballed. And now it's like I'm working full-time job during the week and doing just content on the weekends all the time. And then COVID happened and the music kind of stopped. And so we started transitioning over to the business world. Had a friend that his like uncle wants to start a YouTube channel over COVID. So we got in there and started doing YouTube. And then it was like, oh my gosh, this is so much better than working with musicians.
Yeah.
I still love the music world to death, but business world is just so much more opportunity, you know, at least from my perspective. So yeah, long-winded answer. But.
That's a pretty tough transition then. So like you kind of took a hobby and turned it into a career.
Yeah. It's a good way to put it. Yeah.
What are some difficulties that you found? Did you go to school for like the production stuff, or was it all self-taught?
YouTube University, brother.
Nice. Well,
YouTube University.
That's right.
yeah, that's sweet. Yeah.
I'm a big believer in YouTube.
Yeah, I think I've learned everything I know from that. and everything that I don't know came from school.
Right?
Yeah.
You got to unlearn all the things from school.
So transferring from a hobby or, you know, something that you were passionate about creatively and then into a career, what's something that you've really struggled with that?
You know, the main thing is like systematizing stuff. You know what I mean? Being a creative, like I do music, I do visual stuff, photography. Like I'm kind of ADHD and in all the, you know, like shiny new object syndrome. Like, oh, I want to create this today. I want to do this today. But when it comes to working with clients, if you want to like build good rapport with them, you have to like be on the ball and like know your stuff. Like this is exactly how we're going to do things. So like figuring out, and I'm still figuring it out, honestly, like just figuring out systems and processes, like making sure that when I am talking to a client that we're like checking all the boxes of like what the project is going to be like, all that stuff. I'm there now, you know, but it just took a long time to figure all that out, coming from a place of like just making stuff to make stuff.
Yeah, sure. I mean? Yeah, just developing content for content. Like what so how long have you been in business? So right around COVID?
So here in Greenville, really since like June.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, I've been doing it as a job pretty much since 2020 when COVID happened. But really like, so growing up in Florida and transitioning into being a business there, it was very easy because, you know, I have all these connections.
You know everybody.
I know everybody. I grew up in the circles, right? And so needed a change of pace, ended up moving here. And it was really a big wake-up call of like, you know, if you want to be a business, like you can't just rely on knowing everybody. You know what I mean? You gotta, there's like a bunch of work you gotta do to get where you want to be. You know what I mean? So I'm really grateful that I did get to that point, like put myself in that position. You know what I mean? Because it's like this past like 9 months has grown me a ton, you know?
So how have you been able to actually start put systems and processes in place in your business?
Yeah. So big thing, got a business coach in December.
Oh wow. So only like 6 months into your business, you just immediately went with a coach.
Yeah, I kind of realized, well, Rick Burris, he's my coach.
Okay.
I'm sure you guys know Rick.
Yeah.
He's awesome, and he actually hired me to film his sales workshop. And so getting to not just film the sales workshop, but then go back and edit it and watch it, it was like, man, there's so much that I'm missing. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And just, again, having that perspective of like, okay, I've just been kind of spinning my wheels for a while because I don't have systems and processes and like a bona fide sales process and all that stuff. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it really made me realize that, there's a whole lot that I could do to make my own life easier. You know what I mean? Like make the finished product better for my clients, but really just help me get clear on everything. So that's been huge.
Yeah, sweet.
What do you think the most important thing is when filming a production video for like social media platforms?
For social media specifically?
Yeah.
Um,
As a business owner.
As a business owner. So the biggest mistake that I see people make on social media is going on there and just selling, right? Like nobody, you got to think about the end consumer with no matter what you're doing, but specifically with social media, it's like nobody opens up Instagram to go on there to watch a bunch of commercials
And buy something.
and buy
Yeah.
something. Exactly. They're going on there to relax, disconnect from the world, right? So a lot of business owners that approach me that want to be on social media, they're like, oh yeah, we want to do a promo for this and that, and come cover this event so we can show everybody how cool we are. And that stuff is important, but you have to earn the right to do that with your audience, right?
Yeah.
Like you need to develop a good relationship and build a community with your audience before you can start trying to get anything back from them
Sure.
on social media.
I think
So that's the main thing.
That's brilliant. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
that's something that we really should talk about more just because I think a lot of people miss that. I always get commented on about how like I don't do much marketing, but I still get a lot of business.
Yeah,
And I think that's because as long as people know you
exactly.
and then they know what you do, they'd rather hire you
Yeah.
for your thing when they need it, but they're trusting you as a person. So if you're just pushing out ads and constant promo,
Right.
nobody's going to like that, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Especially in a market like Greenville, where we were talking, before we started rolling here about just kind of how tight knit the city is. You know what I mean? So like when people know who you are, like you don't need to constantly be selling and shoving it down their throat, so to speak.
Yeah.
Like you just need to stay top of mind, continue to provide them value or entertain them in some way on the social media side of things.
Yeah.
And whenever the time comes that they need your service, they'll know who to call.
Yeah.
For sure.
I like that. I've been struggling with that with the real estate side of things. I've kind of found that with construction a long time ago. I never really just kept marketing. But with real estate, I'm like, okay, there's 5,000 real estate agents in this area. How do I set a different tone and
Yeah.
do something different that's not salesy, but also valuable to my clients? So I'm trying to figure that out now. And because like you look at social, especially in the real estate market, all it is just sales pitches.
Yeah.
Oh, here, well, interest rates are good. It's like the same thing over and over again.
For sure.
I've literally seen the other day, I saw somebody post something in All Things Greenville that was a realtor. And I seen the exact same post in Myrtle Beach from a different realtor.
Amazing.
And I was like, and it was like, it looked like regular words that they wrote themselves. And it was the exact same. I was like, man, that's just
They're
lame.
probably using AI.
Yeah. It must have been Chat GBT, all that crap. So, I mean, I was like, it's tough to stand out, but I think being personal is what stands out, not just trying to sell.
But there's also ways, I'm going to give you a nugget here. Like what I found is I have a real estate agent as a client where we do her Instagram and TikTok. And so we obviously want to get on there and sell houses, right? So how do you grab somebody's attention? Because if you're just going, hey, check out this cool house, they're going to scroll right by. So what we found successful is just starting out with like finding something unique about each house, and you can apply this to anything, but just for real estate, like we had a house where it was there was 2 master suites, right? And so instead of being like, check out this amazing house, we were like, have you ever seen a house with 2 master suites? And then just like did a walkthrough of the house, like literally with iPhone, got like 750,000 views on TikTok.
That's insane. Yeah.
Just because of the way that we framed the information. Like it's the same information we're still putting in there. Here's how much the
It's
house
just how you
is. Here's how
deliver it.
many bedrooms and stuff there are. But just thinking about a creative way to frame something to grab the viewer's attention. You know what I mean? And really, like, again, earn them watching the whole video to then ask for the sale at the end
Sure.
in that situation.
Well, a lot of our minds have gone like short term at this point. So we're so used to just these 6-second, 30-second clips.
Yeah.
So I think we bring that to anything now. Like even some of these networking meetings, you have like a 3-minute spiel.
Yeah.
By the end of that 3 minutes, most people have checked out. I mean,
for sure.
You know, so I think if you give that 6 seconds, you know, hi, this is what I do. Check this cool thing out. Grab their attention, and move on to the next one. That's pretty cool.
I think that's helped me in networking too. Is instead of going, because you know we do Liberty networking, instead of going in there and being like, here's a spiel every time, I try and use my 3 minutes as kind of a conversation around video or social media or whatever the thing is. Because again, it's the same thing. Like there's a lot of the same people in the room every time, you know, and I don't need to go in there and sell to them. They know who I am. They know what I do. Right. Unless I have like some kind of specific offer that's like new, we can bring that up, you know, but I really try and make it more of a conversation and make it lively, you know, for that 3 minutes. I feel like that's more effective than just, you know, sitting there making a sales pitch every time you're in there, you know?
Yeah, true. Yeah. What, so getting started in your business, what is probably one of the like tougher things that you've come across? You know, I mean, especially hiring a coach right away. I think that's pretty smart that you've recognized that immediately. But what's something that you've really struggled with?
It's really been the like getting procedures for everything. Like I have no shortage of creative ideas. I know how to execute with the camera, you know, but defining a process of like, okay, when we're doing X and X kind of video, here's exactly how we're going to do it so that we can replicate it the same way every time. Like, obviously, we don't want to put the same videos out every single time, right? But we want to have the same process. That way, as I scale, I can bring on, like, I have a list of subs that I work with right now. You know what I mean? But as we grow and it becomes more than just subs, like, I need to have a system in place to, like, you know,
lead the team.
Yeah,
lead the team. Exactly. So that's been the biggest thing, is just figuring all that out. Like,
yeah, I still struggle with that 8 years into the business. So.
Me too. Starting out as a new business in a new area, where were you finding your best lead generation from?
So it started with the networking thing. I just happened to find Liberty Networking searching around on Facebook, and so went to a couple meetings and was like, whoa, this is awesome. It's very much out of my comfort zone. Like I remember being like so nervous going into one, because again, I was coming from a place where it's like I never had to do anything like that.
Sure.
So yeah, that was great. Made a lot of amazing connections there, and now it's a lot of Facebook groups. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
People tag me a lot. I'm very grateful for that. When people are looking for social media content or videographer, which I think videographer is a dirty word, but that's another conversation.
Let's dive into that. Why is videographer a dirty word?
Okay, so the idea with a videographer is that that person is going to come, they're going to show up, they're going to film it, they're going to edit it, they're going to do the whole process for you. And I think there's a place for that, but it kind of devalues you a little bit if you present it as more of like a video production company, or you have like marketing associated with it, some kind of additional value.
Yeah.
Then it puts you in a position where like the client is assuming that you're going to have other people working on the project. And for that reason, you can, you know, have a higher price point, and you don't have to be the person doing everything, you know?
That makes sense.
It's so like, that's actually a big problem that I had as well, is being the person that's doing everything. You know, it didn't give me a lot of time to work on the business or generate new leads or anything like that. So if you start by positioning it as I'm the person that's doing everything, you're really digging yourself a hole there, you know?
So you're talking about, a videographer, in terms, like you're saying, is somebody that's going to come in, just shoot the video, you know, and send you the edited video, and that's it. But then you're saying that as a production company, you can deal with everything from the sound, the video, the marketing of it, the ideas of it, everything from that matter.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. Like a lot of people assume with a videographer that they're going to come to them and be like, hey, this is the video I want you to make. And the videographer is going to be like, okay, cool. And they're going
Just
to make
listen
it.
and do their thing.
Yeah, exactly. And to me, it's much more than that to me. I really view myself as more of a partner in the process because, again, like we were talking about earlier, people have a lot of misconceptions about what kinds of videos are going to do well for them. Just because, like, you know, I need to be on social media, so let me get a social media video to try and sell my stuff. And it doesn't really work like that, right?
Yeah.
So me being more a partner in the process with that person, I'm able to educate them and kind of steer them in the right direction of like, okay, this is what your vision is. Here's a better way to execute it. So let's work together to come up with, you know, what the crosshair is right there, so to speak. Right. So, dang, I'm proud of that one.
With that plug, yeah.
That was a good one. That was a
Can
good
you bring
one.
in a label like we're floating a label, Ken? Oh yeah, we have to pay for that. He said.
Yeah.
But yeah, just being more of a partner in the process and having the client understand that I'm not just the only person working on this, right? Like I've got people that edit, like being the one person that works on everything, like having to film and do the sound, it like just being on set, like being the person that has to do everything and direct your talent or whatever's going on. If it's like a natural event that's occurring, like trying to capture everything, like just being one person really limits you in what you're actually able to create. And like I said at the beginning, I'm a creative first, you know what I mean? So everything's based around the idea. Like we have this big, awesome idea. Now, how do we execute it? And if you're just one person, man, it gets hard.
Well, I like that because I've always thought it was pretty tough for like a creative company to kind of bring others in because they have one vision. So how do you like have other people have the vision or share that vision, you know, like as far as the production goes? But if you're collaborating to build something together, that seems a little bit better because then you might have a better idea, somebody else's creative idea to come in on something.
Yeah, absolutely. I love collaborating. It's the best part of the job, honestly, for me. You know, there's different types of creatives. I watched the episode you guys did with Brian Knox, who I love. Brian's awesome. He was talking about the competition side, and in photography, it's a little bit different, right? Because as a photographer, you really are kind of just the one person. It's kind of assumed. You know, you can maybe have an assistant that helps you out with lighting and stuff like that. But you don't need a big production because you're not capturing sound and you are telling a story. But, you know, in videography, I said the dirty word. But in video production, like this one piece of content is telling a larger story, right? A lot of times, once you are clear on what the vision is with the client, or even in creative stuff, like if you have the vision, bringing other people on is not difficult. They'll have, as long as they're bought into the overall vision, right? People will have ideas about, oh, let's maybe do this, let's maybe do that on set. And in filmmaking, we're all very open to it. You know, you have to be respectful of the role that you're in, you know what I mean? And all that kind of stuff. You know, there's kind of like a hierarchy on set that you have to be respectful of. But collaboration's like the biggest part of it, you know, because yes, we have a vision, but if we all agree on what the vision is, you know what I mean? And we all have different inputs on how to do it, then it's going to become something even better after that, right?
Sure, yeah.
Like if it's just me being a dictator going, no, we have to do everything this way, like we're not going to get as good of a product as if we bring a bunch of different heads together, as long as everybody's aligned in that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we've seen that with CEO Hot Seat. We didn't really have anything but a relative vision between the four of us. And then all of a sudden it's become this. The stage was set. Now we have a clear idea of what we want to do, a theme. We all have collaborated really well together. So it's cool when that happens because then you become something like this, which we never would have thought.
Yeah.
Right. Like imagine if it was just you. Right?
Yeah. Oh man, it would still be probably sitting at that rickety ass table over there and not have like 2 views a week or something. I don't think people like me very much. So thanks for Chris for
I like people. I like
Hey, bro. It's all right, man.
Well, the one thing I was gonna ask is, as far as like pricing goes, that's like a pretty tough thing, I would assume, with the video world because I feel like it's all over the board because you can have somebody that's just doing it in their basement and they're on their part-time as a hobby, or you have somebody that's got this huge production company that's pumping stuff out regularly. So where do you find yourself in the pricing scheme of things? And then how are you portraying that to your customers as well?
Yeah.
Good question.
So great question. That was also tough for me. It's still, I feel like it's going to always be shifting. You know what I mean? So in working with other people now, I have a list of subs, like I said, that I work with. So I know if I need to bring this person on, this is what their rate is. And this is what they're good at, you know? So like, it's interesting because in the video production world, people essentially have day rates, right? So if I want to bring on somebody to do lighting, or I want to bring on somebody as a director of photography who essentially runs the camera, or AC, like there's all these different aspects of the filmmaking process that you can hire out, and everybody kind of is specialized and has their own rate. So you got to be able to know who's going to be the best person for the job and what exactly you're going to need to make that vision come to life. You know, you want to have the right players in place, and then just factor that into the pricing. So I think the best thing is really just like, obviously when you're on like a sales call with a client, you want to give them a price and get it closed like immediately. Like that for me, like you feel that pressure to like get it closed, right?
Yeah.
But I've learned that really we need to understand, okay, what are the deliverables? What is your vision, right? And how are we going to get there? And then communicating to them that, all right, let me put together a quote for you, and we'll send you an email with all the recap, whatever, however we want to do it. But pretty much we're custom quoting everything is the short answer, right? But when we're doing a custom quote, we want to make sure that that includes having all the right people on the project, and including that in there. As well as, here's something that I didn't do for a long time, not paying myself. You know what I mean? Like I'm doing a lot of background work aside from just holding the camera, right? Like there's ideation process, right? Which is, again, taking the client's vision and aligning that with what we know is going to work, and really ironing all that out so that when I do take it to a team, I'm able to explain it to them and get everybody on the same page and get the client on the same page. Yeah, taking all that stuff into account when we're doing a quote, because for a while there, I was like, okay, I need to pay this person and that person, and then I would leave myself out of it. You know what I mean? And then it's like, okay, like not too long ago, I did a $5,000 project and had $4,500 in overhead just because. And then it was like, okay, I did the most work on this project and I got paid the least amount because I just didn't account for myself. So
a lot of people don't realize that, and I think that's probably more common. You know what I'm saying? I think that's probably common for a lot of people. Like I know I did for a long time.
Yeah.
Do you not account for yourself because you're like in fear of giving them the price and you don't believe in the value, or you're in fear, or do you just truly forget to add your wages into the quote?
I think at first it was kind of a fear thing.
I had that too. Yeah,
for sure. There's like you said, man, I grew up in the music world doing content for bands, and it's like, hey, let me shoot the show for $50.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? So it's like when you're going to a client now, and you're like, hey, I need $8,000 for this project or whatever. It kind of gives you this like funny feeling, at first. Sure. I'm used to it now, but like definitely it was like, okay, how can I make this as cheap as possible? But then you realize, especially in working with someone like a business coach, that the money's out there, man. Like you don't need to be scared.
For sure. And when you do get scared and you do sell yourself short, you've already put resentment between you and the client already.
100%.
Right? Because now something happens and they're nitpicking. Well, you didn't pay me that much money anyways. That becomes your mindset. So it's super important, I think, to go ahead and charge what you're worth.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to. That's something I've screwed up in the beginning few years of my business. I was always, and my crews never understood it. They would always joke that I was making all the money, but I always accounted for them, accounted for profit, but I never accounted for my time.
Right.
And like in my salary, I would never do that. And I would now, like looking back, I was like, man, I'm such an idiot. Like there's just, and nobody really, I don't think that extra $500 or so a week would have like offset that much,
Yeah.
But it might have been a fear of just like, oh, well, I'm kind of the boss. I just run around. I don't really get paid. But when I was paying guys $20, $25 an hour, I'd be like, man, you make twice as much as I do, in
Right.
most cases. So
Yeah.
so that's definitely something to touch on, and to say to beginning business owners, deliberately account for your time and your stress and your management of the project, because
100%.
that is what you're in it for
Yeah.
originally.
Yeah. And, like, I kind of assumed at first that, like, okay, I'm building profit in, right? So that's what I'm going to get paid.
That's what the business needs to thrive.
That's what the
Yeah.
business needs. Exactly. So when we're thinking about it as, again, not just me, like if I'm a videographer and it's just me, that's one thing. But if it's a business that I own,
You said the dirty word again.
I did. I
You keep
did.
saying it.
I'm cursing
We're gonna have
all
to
over
like
this
tag
podcast.
something like explicit content every
Yeah.
time it says it.